He didn't walk onto the stage. He was dragged. Two guards hauled him forward like a sack of trash, his shoes scraping against polished marble until he stumbled under the hot glare of a chandelier. The man clutched one thing to his chest, a gray blanket, frayed, filthy, but folded with desperate care, as if it were worth more than the tuxedos glittering in that hall. The crowd recoiled. Perfume-drenched guests lifted silk gloves to their noses, fanned away the smell of sweat and street. Laughter bubbled, sharp as glass. And then came the voice. "Ladies and gentlemen, Graham Whitfield." Silver-haired, tuxedo pressed to perfection, a champagne flute raised like a scepter. His words rolled through the velvet room, smooth and cruel all at once. "It seems fortune has sent us unexpected entertainment." The crowd laughed with him. They always did. No one wanted to be the one who didn't. The ragged man swayed on his feet.
Dear story, in every corner of life, a story is waiting to be told. Some heal, some hurt, but all of them matter. This is one of them. If you'd like to hear more stories like this, be sure to like and subscribe to our channel for new content.
His voice cracked when it came out, weak but steady. "Please, just bread. I haven't eaten in 2 days." Silence, the kind that feels heavy. Then Graham laughed again, booming, theatrical. "Bread. Imagine that. You barge into my gala, and all you want is bread? Oh no, my friend. Nothing here is free." He turned, sweeping his arm toward the grand piano. Black, gleaming, its lid open like the jaw of a beast. "But I'll make you a deal. Sit down, play, impress me, and you'll eat tonight." The crowd tittered, some amused, some uneasy. The guards shoved the man toward the piano. His hands shook as he set his blanket gently across the bench, as though it deserved respect. His cracked fingers hovered above the keys. "My hands are frozen," he whispered. "Give me 30 seconds. Graham snapped open a gold pocket watch. 30. Not one more. The man pressed a key. A thin, broken note echoed. Another. Laughter rippled. But then he closed his eyes, drew a deep breath, and his hands began to move. First it was clumsy, hesitant. Then it grew, notes spilling like water, heavy with years of pain and nights on concrete. Not concert hall polish, but something raw, alive. Music that didn't just fill the room. It filled the silence inside every guest who had ever lost something. The laughter died. The sneers faded. 1,000 eyes fixed on him. Even the guards stood frozen. Graham's smile slipped. This wasn't humiliation. This was a storm. The last chord hung in the air like smoke. For a heartbeat, silence. Then applause. At first a few hands. Then the hall erupted. People stood. Phones lifted. Cheers shook the chandeliers. Graham slammed the piano lid shut, his voice cracking through the ovation. "Enough!" His face tightened, charm gone. "Without my stage, my piano, you're nothing. Don't forget that." The man lifted his blanket, holding it like proof of his existence. His voice came quiet, steady. "Without you, I'd still be hungry. But now they've heard me, and they won't forget." Applause roared louder. From the third row a woman rose. Blonde hair pinned back, white blazer bright as fire. "Mr. Whitfield," she called, voice sharp. "My name is Elena Moritz, culture editor at the Post, and I just recorded everything. You mocked a starving man." He answered with music. "What headline do you want tomorrow?" Gasps rippled. Graham's silver mask cracked. He forced a laugh, brittle. "The press. Always circling. Of course, he'll be fed. As promised." But the crowd wasn't done. Shouts rang out. "Play again! Let him play again!" The man, Omar Reed, though no one yet knew his name, sat once more. He laid his blanket at his side. His fingers shook, then steadied. This time the music was different. Softer. A lullaby. A A story of love and loss, of mornings when the sun rose on an empty bed, of nights when memory was the only companion. When the final note faded, the ovation shook the walls. People clapped, some wept openly. Even Graham was forced to join, his hands striking together without conviction. Elena stepped forward, her voice steady. I remember you. You won a youth competition at 18, didn't you? A scholarship? Omar looked down, ashamed. Yes, but when sickness came, when the bills grew higher than the notes I could play, music had to be left behind. Until it was all I had left. The crowd hushed. Every face turned to Graham. Cameras flashed. Streams went live. Elena's words cut like a blade. Tonight, you didn't humiliate a beggar. You humiliated a musician who never stopped fighting. And Graham, trapped by his own cruelty, forced a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Then let us correct it. My foundation will provide Mr. Reed with housing, a stipend, a stage, everything he deserves. The crowd erupted again. But Omar stood tall, blanket folded, shoulders straight. His voice carried, calm but unshakable. I'll accept help, but I'm not your trick. Music is the only part of me I still own, and I won't let you turn it into cruelty again. The final image. Omar, ragged but proud, standing beside the black piano. Elena, resolute in the aisle recording history. And Graham Whitfield, billionaire, forced to clap along with a crowd he could no longer control. The man who walked in starving left remembered, his dignity intact, his music echoing in every heart. So I'll ask you, if you had been there, would you have clapped or stayed silent? Omar stood, chest rising and falling, his blanket folded carefully under one arm. The ovation thundered around him, but he didn't bow. He wasn't playing for applause. He was playing because it was all he had left. From the corner of the hall, a man in a navy suit whispered to his wife, "That music, I haven't felt something like that since my father's funeral." His wife dabbed her eyes with a lace handkerchief and only nodded. The guests weren't just impressed. They were moved, and that was dangerous because Graham Whitfield built his empire on control. Control of rooms, of moods, of every smile or silence that filled them. Tonight, that control was slipping through his fingers like sand. Enough! Graham barked again, louder this time, slamming his champagne flute on the table. The crystal cracked. This gala isn't about charity stunts. It's about legacy, art, refinement, not street sob stories. The applause faltered, thinning into murmurs. Uneasy eyes darted between Graham and Omar. For a moment, the room was split, the weight of power on one side, the pull of truth on the other. Elena Moritz, still recording, stepped into the aisle. Her heels echoed like gunshots on marble. "Legacy?" she said, her voice sharp. "Your legacy is cruelty, Mr. Whitfield." Tonight, people saw it for themselves. They saw a man with nothing shame you with everything. Gasps rippled again. Cameras pivoted. Livestream comments scrolled in real time. Hashtag Omar, hashtag Pianoman, hashtag Whitfield exposed. Graham's face flushed red, but he forced a brittle smile. "You speak as though this vagrant is a symbol. He's not. He's just a man who wandered into a place where he doesn't belong." The words hung heavy, and then Omar spoke. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried with a weight years could not erase. "You're wrong," he said. "I belong anywhere there is music. Because music doesn't ask for a tuxedo or a title. Music only asks for truth." The room went silent. No coughs, no shuffles, only silence. Omar bent down, picked up his blanket, and draped it over his shoulder like a soldier carrying his colors. He didn't ask permission. He didn't wait for applause. He walked toward the exit, slow, deliberate steps that somehow sounded louder than the orchestra ever could. Halfway to the door, a man rose. Then another. Chairs scraped. Within seconds, half the gala was on its feet, clapping again. Not polite applause, but raw, defiant. A standing ovation that followed him all the way to the exit. Graham sat frozen, hands trembling against his chair's gilded armrests. He was a man who could buy silence, but tonight, silence had betrayed him. Elena followed Omar into the night, cameras still rolling. Under the cold glow of street lamps, she caught up to him. "Wait," she called. He turned, eyes weary but alive. "You just changed your life," she said. "People will know your name by morning. What will you do now?" Omar looked down at his blanket, fingers tracing its frayed edges. Then he lifted his eyes to hers, and for the first time that night he smiled. "I'll do the only thing I've ever known," he said softly. "I'll keep playing. Not for them, not for applause. For me. For the boy who never stopped believing the piano was more than wood and keys." The camera caught every word, every ounce of quiet dignity. And by dawn, the video of Omar Reed, the starving man who played his soul into the marble halls of power, was everywhere. Headlines didn't call him a beggar. They called him what he was, the musician who couldn't be silenced. And Graham Whitfield? His name was there too, not for his wealth, not for his legacy, but as the man who tried to humiliate music itself and failed.